Now the facts are plain for all to see, or so it seems to me. Like the leaves upon the branches of that big old pine tree. We could be distant cousins long before we sail the seas. But there's not a lot of money selling genealogy.
I'm back. I told you I would be back. It's been a while, but we're here again, and we're still at the Vertigo Gallery, and please don't touch that channel flipper if you're tuned into Rogers. I would like to welcome you to, guess what, this episode 3 of me, Manfred's guitar, and helped out by one camera lady. I'd like to give a big round of applause to Linda. We're all alone here at the Vertigo Gallery, downtown Vernon, and today, as I say, don't touch your channel flipper, look over on your right, and you will see a clone of the Rolling Stones rhythm and guitar player that didn't last all that long. My special guest today is, let me see if I get this right, is it Marv Machura.
Yeah, you got
Thank
it.
you for coming out
Thanks
and
for having
helping
me.
in Altar Boy in Distress. That's really great. Marv is a singer-songwriter. I've watched him a few times, and we're going to listen to him as soon as Manfred gets through with his monologue. Today, it's a little bit about songwriting, a little bit about bones, and a little bit about car accidents. So to begin, we have this from Ontario, from Ken Ashby, who crashed his car and died in 1980. Couldn't move too many bones. He was a quadriplegic forever. And there was a bit of collaboration between him and myself and Dan Antonio, and this is part of what we did. Accident and you end up being a quadriplegic for the rest of your life. Well, I'm telling you, it's a true story. He left 2 books of poetry. Me and my poetry, and Muskoka, music and Canadian song. And I think this is the only collection in all of British Columbia, and I'm finding out that there aren't any of these in Ontario either. So I would like to continue to work on that song. We did this, it was a strange thing, we did this at Rogers in Toronto, in 1979, just before the funeral, and it's ironic today that I'm reintroducing this song again for Rogers in British Columbia. Man in a Wheelchair. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
There aren't too many songs about. There aren't too many songs
I can't
about
think of any right now. No.
Yeah.
I always think of Rick Hansen and Man in Motion, but that's not really literally about.
But
it became his song.
Yeah. Good for you. Good for you for bringing that up, because this is a nice thing about having guests. Most of the guests know a lot more about life than I do, so I'm very, very happy that that we're here for the third episode. And as you know, I'm often pestered and bothered by Allan, the alien. And today, I told him that we are having Marv Machura as a guest, but he insisted. So I've got to put the poetry of Ken Ashby away. And by the way, I'm not sure if everyone remembers Pierre Burton, but it's worth mentioning that when we have intersections with rolling curbs for wheelchair action, it was Ken Ashby that initiated the rolling curbs in Toronto a long, long time ago, and he didn't quite get the credit, but your rolling curbs on your sidewalks are thanks to Ken. I know you can't see this, but there it is, a bit of an obituary in the Toronto Daily Star a little bit after he died. And that's Ken in a wheelchair with his girlfriend, Cassie. And I'll put that away and make room for Allan. Allan the alien. He has to teach me how to do something on the ukulele that I've been trying to do for a long time. Would you be a good scout and hold on to this thing for a minute? Don't touch that channel flipper. You probably know that Allan Alien likes to sit on my thumb and likes to tell me what to do when it comes to the ukulele. So, if you remember the last time we were here with him, it was a little C scale and a little C chord and a little F chord. Am I doing this right? Yes, 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 yes. Yes, okay, and the G7 chord. So the song is something you might have heard before. Here's the tune for it. See if you can catch this. We'll do the words in a second. You heard the C scale? And now comes the rest of it. It's the famous alphabet. Your general A, B, C, D, E, yes? But if I leave it to him to show me what to do, we're going to do it a little bit different. We're going to do it slightly different. You know how the alphabet goes? How does it start?
A, B, C, D.
Oh yes, the typical thing is your A, B, C, D, E, but Allan insists that I learn it backwards. Z, Y, X, N, W, V, U, T, S, N, R, Q, P. Are you with me? Uh-huh. As he's not so stupid. O, N, M, L, K, J, I, H, G, F, N, C, N, D, N, A. That's Allan and the alphabet backwards. Thanks for hanging in there. Don't touch that channel flipper because we're going to go and talk about the beautiful things that we have here on the wall. So, back to this. You see that, Marv? This is your first time to experience the adventures of Allan and the ukulele. And we are in the members gallery at the Gallery Vertigo, and we are surrounded by the works of Ted Glabush, who is at home and really sick. Also, you should know that it breaks my heart, but this is the last public expose of art in here because we're going to a new place, and at some point I'll disclose where we are, but it's still downtown Vernon. So I'm going to talk to Marv Machura just for a couple of minutes to see if you would like to maybe throw out a partial song. We're going to talk a little bit about songwriting today. So Marv, can I have my guitar back?
Sure.
Okay, and you've brought a really nice instrument. Why don't you tell us what, because we've got a lot of people in the Okanagan that play guitar, and there's a lot of good guitars in this part of the world, and I have not seen what you have here.
Yes, well, this is my baby. I call it Emily. Anyway, it's a Morgan guitar, and Morgan guitars are made in Victoria. Morgan is he comes from a family of instrument makers from Italy, and he came to BC to study under Larrivee. And he fell in love with the wood of BC, and he said, I've got to live here because it's got the best wood. And so he set up a luthier shop in Victoria, and he's producing these kind of guitars that I've had for a long time. And
I saw you play the J45 when you were at the Schubert Center last week.
Actually, that wasn't a J45. No, that's a Gibson Pioneer.
Okay.
That's based on the Chet Atkins
okay.
Yeah, it's a different guitar, but it looks like a J45.
Yeah, I saw it from a distance, yeah.
It certainly does. Anyway, so that's what this is. I feel very blessed that ever since I've got it, it just hasn't gone far from my hands. It just sits really nice, and of course it's got a beautiful sound, and BC wood, and I mean it's got a lot of.
That's impressive. And when I got excited immediately when you mentioned that he had come from again where?
Italy.
Okay, because I remember when John Larrivee was apprenticing with Edgar Munch in Toronto.
Really?
Yes, he used to go out to visit his place and work in the basement, and he started building guitars in the early 80s.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, Larrivee just changed the world.
Then got to another place further away, got his own studio, then got another studio, and then discovered West. Came out here.
Yeah, the rest is history, as they say. This is the legacy of his.
And this is a descendant of
that whole motion, for sure.
Edgar Munch was a German guitar maker, and his son Edie was going to be a really great guitar player. And little information, and he did a debut in New York. And after the show, he got into a car and he bumped his head and developed a brain tumor and died. And Mr. Munch went back to Germany, and John Larrivee kept that flag going. So
interesting.
Yes, it is.
Song in there too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I will put a little bit of duct tape on my thing here and let you do a partial song.
That's okay.
Let us know what you're doing then.
Okay, so anyway, we talked about a few things before the camera started rolling, and one of the things was Pierre Berton. And so I'd like to, this triggers this particular song. I've written songs, I'll call my music Western Canadian roots music, so like I'm a history buff of Western Canada. I like to write songs about the history of Western Canada.
Nice.
Anyway, of course, Pierre Berton, the great historian.
Yes.
I was reading a book by him one time called Famous Canadians, and he has a story in there about Simon Gunn and Newt, who was an outlaw First Nations in BC in the Caribou. And what happened was some fur traders, they were teasing him about his wife, saying that they could have her. Anyway, the story goes that he killed these two people. But again, it wasn't clear that he had, and he became the most wanted man in Canada for a while. The RCMP tried to track him down, but they couldn't for 10 years. And finally, it became a bit of an issue, a lot of issue, because he was Native, his First Nation, so he'd be guilty no matter what he did, right? And so, in the story, it was clear that Pierre Burton thought he was innocent, right? So I wrote the song, Simon Gun and Newt, with the idea that he was innocent, he hadn't killed these guys, right? Anyway, so I sent that, I recorded that song and sent it to Pierre Burton. This was before, when he was still alive. And he wrote me a letter back, a handwritten or a hand-typed letter back, and he said, Marv, great song, but I gotta tell you, Simon Gun and Newt actually killed those two white men. He told his sister that, and I got it from good authority, that he was actually guilty. He was exonerated for the crime when he finally turned himself in after 10 years, or 13 years on the run, 13 years away from, and he had like $2,000 on his head, but he managed to have children, he looked after his family, and all this time he was an amazing guy. He confessed, before he passed that yeah, I killed these guys because they insulted my wife.
So
anyway, so then I
would change your song.
So yeah, so I went back to the song and I go, oh, have I got to change it? Pierre Burton says it's not. And so I changed it around so it's not clear whether he killed him or anything. But in the first version, it was clear that he was innocent. But in the second version, it's not.
Marv Machura.
And I finally recorded that, and then I was going to send it to Pierre Burton to have him proof it one more time. But he sadly passed before that happened. It was like maybe 2 or 3 months after I'd finished the revision,
And today we revised.
So it's, yeah, here we go. Simon Gun and Newt came from the Caribou, and they say that he shot 2 white men. So he had to run. He was an Indian. He'd be guilty no matter what was done. 1906, bounties rode out, they would surely get their man. Simon Gun and Newt slept through their hands, and he became Canada's most wanted man. I see. So it's sort of like that. In the first version, it was clear that he didn't kill them, but this is just like they say that he shot 2 white men. And one of the changes that I made to the song, I can't really remember the first version. I have it on tape somewhere,
But this is great because we ended up finding out about Pierre Burton.
yeah.
And here we are in Vernon talking about Pierre Burton, and it's to do with songs.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about serendipity. It's ridiculous, but this is exciting.
Okay.
Can I bore you to death with something here? And to continue, if you're still with us, if you haven't touched that channel flipper, you know it's Marv on the right and Mr. Strangehead here on your left. Speaking of songwriting, I have to do this for you. It's short, 2 verses. It has 2 verses, but I owe it 2 more. This song is called Seasons of BC. Seasons of BC. And here's the dramatic intro. If you've got a guitar at home, we're in the key of G, 440, not 432.
Yeah.
So here we go with a little bit of an intro for Seasons of BC. intro. And here comes the first verse. Sunshine and rainbows on this lovely day, tell me spring is here again. But it reminds me you're not here beside me, we've gone on our separate ways. Yeah, fire at sunset bright, moonlight and stars, but we're not holding each other tight. Oh my gosh. So I'll watch the moon shine its light on my memories, writing love songs through the night. I'll watch the moon shine its light on my memories, writing love songs through the night. Now I gotta do that intro again because we're gonna do the second verse. Let's see if we can get it right on this take. We got that camera rolling. No mess ups here, Fred. 1, 2, 3, 4. Through there. Second verse. British Columbia, yes, mountains and valleys, we traveled till there was no rain. All in the crystal clear waters of her rivers and lakes are like tears that they somehow remain. In summer it came, lots of fire and smoke, now I'll watch the new forest greening the hills as I offer my thanks for today. I'll repeat that last line. 2, 2, 3, 4. I'll watch the new forest greening the hills as I offer my thanks for today. Now can I get the intro? Got the intro, can I get the ending right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Seasons of BC, and I owe it 2 verses about the fall and the winter. Mm-hmm. Did you like that?
Yeah, that's really great.
That's an original word.
Good. Yeah.
It feels like British Columbia a little bit.
It feels a lot
got
like
the smoke,
yeah, good.
got the smoke in there, got the sunshine in there, and the beautiful lakes, and partly western. She's gone. I'm alone. So right now, I would like to show you what I do in my spare time besides writing songs and playing the guitar and pretending to do Buddy Holly music. I'd like to introduce you to the math teacher that I never got along with. So I'm not sure. I'll put him against my backdrop here. Can you see that? There is a perfect specimen of part of a chicken, part of a vulture, part of some silver paint, a few springs, and the back of the chicken's body here. So my old math teacher, Mr. Janisek, that I never got along with, but I loved him because he did teach me my multiplication tables. Got that. Marvin, maybe you can throw in another partial tune of something that you can think of. Is there anything that you can think of?
Sure. And again, Lee, just triggered by our conversation earlier, and with the tragic car accident that
And we try to do original stuff here. That's one of the great things that they've allowed me to do, is to try to find original music from people.
Very, very good. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So again, so many people have died tragically on highways, especially young people. And this is a song that for me took a long time to write. I had the idea for it. Usually ideas happen in a flash for me, but then it takes a while to get them out. Sometimes 25 years, like in this case.
Yes, that's right.
And it's called. She was just called 17.
Oh.
And it's loosely based on my own life, but I won't say how much. But I grew up on the tough side of town, and as it says, like living life out loud. And sometimes a lot of us don't make it past that 17. It's a very risky time. I know lots of people that didn't. I almost never did too. I was involved in a serious car accident. She was just 17, the teenage beauty running free on the tough side of town, living life out loud. And we fell in love. We promised we'd never give up, but burning like falling stars, fire and lightning in our hearts.
Beautiful.
And yeah, that sets up the story, and then it doesn't end well. But
in this alternative art gallery, we do a number of things here. We do sculptures, we do paintings, we do music, we do all kinds of things. And today, I've brought to you another dimension of the business of bones. If you're still with us, here are 2 ribs from a deceased cow, and here are 2 ribs from a deceased horse. What am I going to do with a can of spray paint? We're signing off, ladies and gentlemen. We're putting a lid on this, thanks to Captain Machura and Fred. It's the Fred, and it's the Marvin and Manfred. It's the Marvin and Manfred show. Stay tuned. We'll catch up with you again, and hope we can get Marvin back when he's not too busy. Thanks for tuning in to whatever channel you've got on there. We're in there with you. Goodbye, and thanks from Marvin.
thank you, Manfred. Thank you for having me on the show. And thank you all for listening. It was absolutely a pleasure. I appreciate this.
That's a take. It's in the can.
Okay.
Like the leaves upon the branches of that big old pine tree. We could be distant cousins long before we sail the seas. But there's not a lot of money selling genies.